Imagine you're pulling into your driveway after work. You notice your front tire looks a little low. No big deal, right? A quick stop at the gas station air pump, a few quarters, and problem solved. Or so you thought. Because that single innocent fix turned into a $2,000 repair bill. And if you think it couldn't happen to you, let me tell you, it happens to drivers every single day. People who believe a tire is just a tire. But the truth is, modern tires and wheels are more complex than ever. One wrong move, one overlooked detail, and you can unleash a chain reaction that destroys your suspension, your electronics, and your bank account. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how this happens and how you can avoid making the same costly mistake. 1. The underinflation trap. Why low pressure is more dangerous than you realize? Let's start with the first piece of this disaster: chronic underinflation. Most drivers assume a tire is fine if it looks okay, but the eye test fails you because even 5 to 6 psi below the recommended pressure is enough to increase rolling resistance by 20%, which overheats the tire, cause the sidewalls to flex excessively, breaking down internal cords, trigger the TPMS light if your car has it, but many people ignore it anyway. Here's what the experts say. Bridgestone research shows that a tire running at 80% of its recommended pressure can shorten its lifespan by up to 50% and raise internal temperatures past 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That heat doesn't just kill the rubber. It damages sensors inside the wheel, degrades adhesives on wheel weights, and even weakens alloy rims over time. The driver in this story, let's call him Mark, had been topping up a slow-leaking front tire every few weeks, thinking he was staying ahead of the problem. He didn't know that internal sidewall damage was already happening with every commute. 2. The mistake that cost thousands. Ignoring the leak source. One morning, Mark noticed the tire was nearly flat again. He assumed it was just normal air loss and used a gas station compressor to reinflate it, but he never stopped to ask why the leak kept coming back. Here's the truth. Slow leaks are almost never just old tires. They can be a small puncture, a cracked valve stem, corrosion around the wheel bead, a failing TPMS sensor seal. Mark's leak was caused by a corroded bead seat where the tire meets the rim, something that can happen from driving in winter salt or parking near sprinklers. By ignoring that cause, he kept refilling air instead of addressing the real problem. And every refill meant more cycles of underinflation, flexing, and heat. Psychological factor. We all want to believe a simple fix is enough. It feels easier and cheaper to top up air than to pay for inspection. But denial is the fastest route to disaster. 3. The hidden damage. What you can't see will hurt you. After months of topping up air, Mark noticed a vibration in the steering wheel. He assumed it was just an old tire wearing unevenly. What he didn't know was that the internal steel belts were separating. This happens when heat and flexing weaken the adhesive bonding inside the tire carcass. When belts separate, the tire becomes egg-shaped. It can no longer maintain proper balance. Tread may bulge or separate entirely. Even worse, that imbalance sends vibrations through the suspension. In Mark's case, it caused premature wear on the lower ball joint and wheel bearing. He didn't connect those dots because the symptoms appeared gradually. Expert insight. Michelin engineers call this progressive failure. You won't see it from the outside until it's too late. 4. The alignment domino effect. Here's where things snowball. When you drive on an out-of-round tire, you stress the steering and suspension in ways they were never designed to handle. In Mark's vehicle, the separated tire caused slight steering wobble, which over time knocked the alignment out of spec, wore the inner edge of the opposite front tire, put extra strain on the power steering system. By the time he replaced the tire, he was already facing 2 new tires instead of 1, an alignment, a new wheel bearing. He thought he was finally in the clear, but he wasn't because he made one more mistake. 5. The TPMS Nightmare. Modern cars, modern problems. After Mark had the tires replaced and the alignment corrected, he started the car and saw the dreaded TPMS light, tire pressure monitoring system fault. Why? Because months of underinflation and repeated reinflation cycles had compromised the TPMS sensor in that wheel. When the bead corrosion finally caused a full deflation, moisture worked its way into the sensor's electronics. TPMS sensors are not cheap. In many vehicles, each one costs between $75 and $150, plus labor and programming. Psychological factor? At this point, Mark thought, it's just a warning light. I'll ignore it. But that single ignored light masked a deeper issue. His new tire was also slowly leaking because the bead corrosion hadn't been fully cleaned. Without a functioning TPMS, he didn't know it was going flat again until it was nearly ruined. 6. The final straw. The blowout. 3 weeks later, Mark was driving on the freeway when the car began to shudder violently. The steering felt heavy. By the time he could pull over, the brand new tire had shredded itself, tearing the sidewall and damaging the wheel. This was no longer a $200 problem. The damage included a destroyed tire, a cracked alloy rim, a second TPMS sensor broken by debris, suspension bushings chewed up by the vibration. His insurance didn't cover wear and tear, and because it was deemed a maintenance issue, the repair bill was his alone to pay. Final cost, over $2,000, all triggered by ignoring a slow leak and believing topping up air was enough. 7. The expert's advice. How you can avoid this. If you take nothing else from Mark's story, remember this. A tire is not just a round piece of rubber. It's a precision-engineered part of your car's safety, handling, and longevity. Here are the proven steps experts recommend. Inspect tires monthly for pressure, tread wear, and sidewall damage. Never ignore a recurring leak. Have it diagnosed immediately. Replace TPMS sensors proactively if they're older than 7 years or showing fault codes. Clean and reseal beads when replacing or remounting tires, especially in salted climates. Always rebalance and align after installing new tires. Rotate tires every 5,000 to 7,000 miles to ensure even wear. 8. Psychological triggers. Why people ignore warning signs. Why do smart people end up in Mark's situation? Because of these powerful psychological traps. Normalcy. Bias. We expect today to be like yesterday. It was fine last week, so it's probably fine now. Minimization. We rationalize small problems to avoid discomfort. It's just a slow leak. I'll get to it eventually. Short-term gratification. It feels better to spend nothing now and pretend it will sort itself out. Recognizing these mental habits is the first step in breaking them. 9. Modern trends. Why this happens more often. Today, here's the part most people don't realize. Modern cars have thinner sidewalls, low-profile tires, sensitive electronic sensors, lightweight alloy rims prone to corrosion and damage. That means even small air loss causes big problems faster than it did on older cars. Pro tip. If you drive a car made after 2015, tire vigilance isn't optional, it's essential. Mark's $2,000 disaster wasn't caused by bad luck. It was caused by a mindset, ignoring small problems, dismissing warning signs, and hoping for the best. But now you know better. If you take action when you see that low tire, if you inspect and repair rather than top up and forget, you can avoid the nightmare he lived through. Which of these lessons surprised you the most? Have you ever had a small issue turn into a huge bill? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. If you found this video valuable, smash the like button and subscribe. This channel is all about real, honest car care, so your car doesn't end up in the junkyard before it's time. Stay smart, stay vigilant, and never underestimate the power of a simple tire.